Well, good morning and welcome to Unity of Charlotte. My name is Reverend Lisa Herklotz. I am the co-minister here along with Reverend Jim Ernstsen, whom you'll be hearing from shortly. And we just want to say we're really glad to see you here. If you're watching online, we're really glad you joined us via Zoom. And maybe you're watching a recording after this service. Thank you for checking us out. And if you want any more information, we'll tell you how to get it shortly. Now, the thing about Unity of Charlotte is we have a purpose for being here. We call it our mission statement. And we like to read it out loud because we also believe that our words have power. Our words that we speak aloud feed a vibration into the universe and manifest the meaning behind those words. So together, let's read our mission. Unity of Charlotte is the place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Love, grow, and serve. Those are big words. Those are big words. Thank you. I'd like to see if we have anyone here for the first time. Welcome. Let's give a nice round of applause. We're delighted to have you here. I already know you got a visitor's packet. Please, we invite you to stay for fellowship after the service to join us. We would love to hear what brought you to Unity and answer any questions you might have. So welcome. Now, anybody can find out more about Unity of Charlotte in many different ways. We have a website, a newsletter that goes out weekly. You can sign up for that on the website. A Facebook page, a YouTube page where all of our Sunday services are recorded for viewing later. And finally, if you're here in person, we have a bulletin board where we always post ongoing things that are happening here at Unity of Charlotte, but also happening out in our community. So be sure to check that out. Let's now turn inward. After we focused on all the wonderful things happening around us, we now take this time to do a prayer. And I invite you to gently close your eyes, turn your attention within. And often we say, move from your head to your heart. And as we make that movement, we find ourselves coming to rest in this place within that is holy, sacred, and filled with the indwelling presence of God. It is upon this presence that we build our faith, our strength, our inspired wisdom and guidance come from this place. As it teaches us, inspires us, and moves us to truly be a light in this world. And today, we take a moment to uplift all of those who have given their lives, literally their lives, in service to this great democratic experiment called America in the United States. And we uplift all their family members who have felt that loss, but we remember them with honor, with respect, and with love for that unconditional gift. And we move now our focus and our attention and our energy and our words and our actions towards creating the peace that comes from knowing we are one. We are one. In the human sense, we are all interconnected. In the spiritual sense, we are, in fact, one being of light, endowed with the power to create as our Creator created us, to manifest love in all forms and expressions in this world. So we now let our energy turn to creating peace and ending all strife, all conflict, all war, all battle. That means the battle, the war, the strife we have within ourselves, within relationships, and between countries. Peace is our call, and we know it is so. And so it is. I'd like to open now this sacred space of quiet to give voice to any name or situation you would like to speak out loud, that you would like to uplift in prayer at this time. Please speak that name or situation now. Mom, leaders, Charlotte. And we now together claim with faith that every name or situation uplifted in this sacred space, the Spirit is working in and through to bring about the best and highest good for all. And so it is. Amen. Please join me in speaking our prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good, omnipotence. We want you to know that prayer is at the very foundation. The power of prayer is at the very foundation of what unity is. We have a prayer box right outside the door. If you would like to leave a prayer request in that box, it will be sent to our prayer team. These are a circle of individuals who have committed themselves to hold these prayer requests in their prayer time, uplifting and adding to the energy and sacredness of that request. You can also fill out a prayer request online. And once we send those to our prayer team, which I want to say everything the prayer team receives is held in the strictest of confidence. And that information is never shared with anybody anywhere. It does at some point after the prayer team holds it in prayer for 30 days, it goes to silent unity. That's at our world headquarters, and they hold it in prayer for another 30 days. There is also Silent Unity also has a 24/7 prayer line. If you ever want to call and speak to somebody, that phone number is there. It's also listed on our bulletin board. So at this time, I'd like to call Kathy forward to read our daily word. Thanks.
Today's word is comforted. I am comforted knowing God's presence is a blessing now and always. There are times I mourn the loss of a loved one, or perhaps the loss of something I treasure. I am thankful when those around me acknowledge my loss and comfort me by expressing care and concern. It may not completely alleviate my pain, but their efforts do lift my mood, even if only for a short while. I also recognize the tender, loving presence of God that is always with and within me and enables me to persevere, even in the face of loss. God's comfort is for everyone. The light, love, peace, and comfort of the divine bless all those who are feeling the pain of loss, loneliness, and grief. I pray that the love and care of God flow through me to comfort those who grieve. And from Isaiah, sing for joy, O heavens, and exult, O earth. Break forth, O mountains, into singing, for the Lord has comforted his people and will have compassion on his suffering ones.
Well, good morning. Good morning. There you go. There you go. My name is Reverend Jim Ernstsen, and we're going to talk about communication today. We're going to talk about the second half of communication because Reverend Lisa talked last week about listening, didn't you? Yes, she talked about listening last week. If you don't know already, I enjoy the interaction with everybody here. So, she talked about listening and the silence, and we're going to talk about that other side of that today. We're going to talk about that idea of nonviolent communication in terms of unity principles today. Now, if anyone has studied that, and I'm getting a signal that I need to not roam so much, so I'm going to try and stay a little bit back here, and I'm going to get rid of this. I am going to go off camera for a second. But this is about, so we've done half of it. We've listened in those conversations. What's the other half? You want to communicate. You want to speak. You want to be understood. You want that give and take, correct? So we're going to talk about that in terms of spirituality and how that works within our lives. We're going to look at that, and we're going to check out the intersection of, as I said, nonviolent communication and unity, the 5 basic unity principles. So, let's see, where is my clicker? It's way over here. Thank you. I have a magic clicker in the back as well. So, from the heart. This is communication from the heart. Most definitely. Marshall Rosenberg, he actually created this tool that we're going to use. He created this process in which to be understood in the world. And some of you have probably heard of it. I see some nods. Yeah, this is familiar. And he wrote this way back in the 60s, but it's relevant. It's relevant today in our lives as well as for the world itself. This is one of his warnings. This is one of his quotes. Marshall Rosenberg said, "Every moment that we are not part of speaking from the heart, we are contributing to violence." So if we're not communicating from the heart, we're contributing to violence. Let me put it in a positive way. When we are communicating from the heart, from understanding, and from love, we're communicating from peace. And isn't that what we want in this world? We want to be able to live, communicate, to be understood, to understand that other person as well. Within unity, there is a proverb that says, "Speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence." Isn't that nice? Speak only when your words, in other words, there's no sense in just yammering on unless it contributes to the beauty of the world. That's where we want to be, understanding and contributing to the beauty of the world as well. Back to Marshall Rosenberg, he's telling us that spirituality is the base of nonviolent communication. Spirituality. So even Marshall Rosenberg, who is not part of the unity movement, recognized that spirituality is part of this process because it is all about what's alive in us and how we make life more wonderful. Communication is about making life more wonderful, is what this man is saying. Yes. Yes, yes, absolutely. It's from the heart, and it leads to a life that's more wonderful. So I love those quotes. I love those quotes. Marshall Rosenberg created this, and we shortcut it to NVC, Nonviolent Communication, NVC. We spent lots of time, Reverend Lisa and I spent lots of time in ministerial school. When we went to the seminary, this was one of the topics that popped up quite often within our classes. Because we want to speak from the heart. We want to be understood and understand others. This is a technique that's important to communities that believe in loving each other and growing together. So we experience this quite often. This popped up for us in our board training as well. So it's something that we can utilize from the leadership down within this community as well. Nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication, so as I said, it's a process, it's a tool to connect others from empathy authenticity, and understanding. That's where we want to get to. Empathy, understanding, authenticity. Marshall Rosenberg, back in college, witnessed poor communication. He experienced anti-Semitism when he was in college, the hatred and violence of the riots in Detroit at the time. Those were in the 60s, I believe. And he dedicated himself to this process of communication. He graduated with a PhD in psychology from University of Wisconsin and then created this process. He taught not only those who would listen to him at college, but also the world, because this is utilized throughout the world. The 4 steps in general for this process is observation without judgment, identify our feelings, connection with our needs, and compassionate request. This is observing what just happened between you and I in that communication. What happened? When this thing happened, that's the first part. The second part, I felt, we take responsibility for our own feeling, right? I felt, and I have a need for this thing in my life. That's number 3. And then a compassionate request. Would you be willing to work with me on this and maybe make a change? Those are the 4 steps in a nutshell. So let's look at those 4 steps as we connect them to our spirituality within unity as well. This is going to show us the NVC on that left-hand side. So those are just those 4 things that we just talked about. And we're going to see how they match up with our principles that we believe in within unity as well. That first one was the observation without judgment. Something happened, somebody said something to us. That's the observation. The trick is observing it without judgment, right? Observing it without the fog of those lenses from our previous life, the hurts that we've gone through. This is trying to see it without judgment as well. The idea behind this would be, I observe what is happening without adding my story. Observing what is said, and you can take a picture of this at the very end, because we're going to have all of these things. Oh, actually, no. That bottom thing comes and goes. If you would like to take pictures, please. That's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I observe what is happening without adding my story. So this is the without judgment piece. This is saying, you know what? I was hurt. And it could be 20 years ago with this thing in my life. And that's part of my story. I don't want to cloud today with that thing that happened long, long ago. With nonviolent communication, this is describing, this is seeing, hearing, witnessing it without the evaluation. Within unity, this is basic unity principle number 1. This is one presence and one power in my life. And let me show you how that ties together. This is that recognition of the truth of the situation without ego distortion. This is unfiltered by my past. This is knowing the other person not as evil, but also part of that divinity. This is the divinity that brings that oneness into our lives, into our universe, into this world. That's the oneness that we're talking about? Can I observe this thing that's happening as oneness in my life? And here's a clear one as well. This first step, and I want you to hear me. This one step is part of that first piece of observation. No one is against you. Do you hear that? No one is against you. A lot of times when we feel like things are stacked up against us, this person has it out for me, that's my interpretation of things that have gone on before, and I'm embedded in this story that I've given my previous life. But honestly, no one is against you. That's part of this first piece as well. The spiritual tie-in with this first step, the observation and unity as well, is that this is mindfulness in action. This is living in the present moment. This is not worried about the future. This is not living in the past. This is in the present moment as well. Observation is about seeing through the lens of truth. This is really trying to cut down to the bottom level of truth in this conversation. This is seeing our divinity without ignoring what's going on. So we're not pretending, we're not being Pollyannish about what's going on, but we're still bringing that truth of divinity within our lives. We're not denying, but we're bringing the truth of the situation in there. This is also self-mastery. This is knowing, taking the pause, and not letting situations carry us. This is take the pause, take the breath, observing what's happening, and knowing what the truth of the situation is. This is bringing the gift of clarity into the situation. Truth, no ego. There is no one against us. That was step one. Step two was that identifying our feelings. So when that thing was said, when that thing happened, when we had a reaction, this is us getting in touch with our feelings. Why did I just get set off? What am I feeling? Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling hurt? Am I feeling, what is it about that? I take responsibility for what I feel as part of this process. So it's not only recognizing it, but taking responsibility for it within my life as well. This is saying how I feel without blame. Saying how I feel without blame. Within unity, we are created as divine. This is the basic unity principle too, as well. This is we are created in the image and likeness of God, is what Genesis tells us. The image and likeness of God, which means we are divine, is how we interpret this metaphysically. We are divine. We're created with all the attributes of a good and benevolent and omniscient creator. We are good. When we see the opposite within our world, those are errors that are popping up. Those are mistakes that people are making. But we, as a person, are basically good. We are absolutely good. This is emotions as messages. Why were we created with feelings? I ask myself sometimes, right? This is kind of like going back and wondering, what's the purpose for feelings in my life? Are they just there to confuse me? No, I believe that emotions and feelings are there to kind of nudge me, to kind of wake me up, to kind of point me in the right direction. It's kind of like feeling hurt when I put my hand on the stove is the signal that I need to do something, right? So if I'm feeling emotionally hurt from a conversation, that means I need to investigate this. I don't just walk away from it. I figure out what's going on and how can I make this better, either through communication or understanding why I'm responding to that thing. So I use those emotions as a wake-up tool, if you would have it that way. Let me go back. I would call these that our feelings are sacred guides. They're guides within our world that we need to pay attention to. That's what our feelings are. We're not denying those feelings as well. We're acknowledging that they are leading us to a healing moment. That's where we want to get to, that healing moment. So let's go ahead and go to the third step. This is, so we've identified what's gone on, we have seen what our feelings are, and now we connect with the needs of what we're talking about here. This is my feelings point me to an unmet need. What is the need in my life that's brought about that feeling? The feeling didn't just pop up, right? The feeling isn't just out of the blue. The feeling is connected to a need that hasn't been met in that conversation or in that situation. The need is real. The need is real, and identifying that is important to this process. It's important to the spirituality. It's important to the healing of this moment as well. Within unity, we create our experience. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind, is what the third basic principle is. What we think leads to the creative power within our world. So it's important, we say, to hold the good thoughts. That was the song we just sang, wasn't it? I think upon these things. If you're going to think about something, and as humans, we can't help it. We've got this gray matter in our head. We were designed as a thinking machine. We don't shut down our thinking. If we have to think on the good things. And that is a training. That is a process. That is work. Prayer and meditation are tools that we use for that as well. So within NVC, it's to discover the universal human need behind the feeling. This is the universal human need. Needs help us discern what we are unconsciously affirming. Because we tell ourselves those stories inside of ourselves unconsciously many times. And these feelings and needs are pointers to that. They show us what that is. So, identifying that is so important. It's so important. And then thinking of that as well. The spiritual tie-in for this, my needs are not selfish. So saying in this situation, in this conversation, in this situation in life, well, I should have no needs whatsoever, so I'm going to deny those feelings that I just had. That's not realistic. You do. Each and every one of us has needs, and at that moment, it works for our benefit to identify them so that we can understand what's going on at the moment and communicate in a healthy way. This is the soul's call for alignment and connection in our world. That's what that third step is for. So, We've identified, or we've observed, we've identified the feelings, we've connected with the needs. Part of unity where thoughts and needs are actually helping us. The fourth step in this process is a compassionate request. A compassionate request. So it's not an angry request. It's not, I need to get this, I need this thing in my life. I need to be aggressive, or I need to overpower the other one in this conversation. I need to be smarter than the other person to get what I need. This is a compassionate. This is what works here for everyone in this situation. A compassionate and empathetic request for this as well. This is, I speak my truth in love. Now I'm going to say a warning here, because I've heard random people in my life say, well, I'm just speaking my truth, right? But was it in love? You can just spout whatever you're feeling and it not be in love. That's not a solution. Speaking my truth in love is a spiritual answer to this process. Speaking your truth, yes, it is your truth, because you've identified how you felt and what your need is. That is your truth, but you do it with love as well. Unity would say, I put these principles into action. That is the fifth basic unity principle. So this request is an action item in your life. Within unity, we talk about this as a tangible request rooted in love. We talk about all that we have learned in our lives, not just for learning's sake. So we may study, we may go to a class on a Saturday morning, we may read a book, attend a book club, the minister's book club on Wednesday night, but unless we put it into practice, it's for naught, right? It doesn't do us any good just to rattle around in our heads. We have to put it into practice. And in this case, in most cases, what we learn about is walking this earth in love. Together, hand in hand in love. What is it that Ram Dass taught? What is life, did Ram Dass talk about? Life is leading each other home. I'm going to say taking each other hand in hand and walking each other home. Back to that realization that there was never any separation from us and the divine. That's why we're here, to support each other as well. That's who we are. That's what this congregation, that's what Unity of Charlotte is about. This is spiritual co-creation in our relationships. This bring about spirituality to those relationships in our lives. And wouldn't that make those shine within our lives? That's what we want. I want to surround myself with people. I want to surround myself with friends and family in a loving spiritual environment. That's my goal. I don't want to just bump my way through this life. So I want to communicate with love. I want to make my relationships better. That is that fifth tool. What is the action that we're talking about here? That is that spiritual intention within our lives. So, let's do an example. Let's do an example of these 4 steps. When blank happened, and you know what? I will give you these little steps so that you can practice this yourself at home. I've got a 1-page thing. We can also write them on a business card. They're simple enough to write on the size of a business card and put them in your wallet put them in your purse and bring it out at the right time. That first one is the observation. I used to, back when I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, I lived in a home, a 4-bedroom home with my daughter. I was a single parent at the time, and we had a roommate that lived with us. We had an adult roommate that lived with us for a while. And part of the agreement for him was that he would help out with chores around the house. And and for me, it was a trick figuring out which of these chores was it that he would actually do, right? So, but one of the things that he agreed to is that during the summer, every Saturday he would mow the yard. That was his agreement. That was the way he chipped into the household, right? He would mow the yard. So, here's my observation. Corey, when Saturday night got here and the lawn didn't get done, that's the first part of it. Identify the feeling. So, when Saturday night got here and the lawn didn't get mowed, I felt annoyed. I'm taking responsibility for how I feel. I feel annoyed because we made an agreement to do this. We made an agreement to this. And I don't feel like chasing you down every Saturday to fulfill your part of this. I felt annoyed. And you know what? I have a need for us to keep our commitments. When an agreement is broken, I feel disappointed. So you see, there's an observation without a big story behind it. I'm not going into, this reminds me of when my brother and I did this thing, and I've carried this with me for the rest of for my life. It's as simple. When the lawn didn't get done, I felt annoyed, and I have a need for us to keep our commitments with each other. Now, I take that information into the fourth step, which is a compassionate request. How do we move forward? What is the action item from this thing that we're doing here? And it almost always starts with, would you be willing to, in this case, would you be willing to mow the yard each Saturday before 7 o'clock, before it gets dark, without me having to remind you? So it's actionable. It's got a date and a time. It's understandable. And it works for both of us. Because I know he would say, oh, yeah, I'll get to it. Before 7 o'clock? Yeah. Without me reminding you? Yeah. So that's the request. That's the process there. Now, he could come back and say, well, I don't know.
Could have been an alligator.
An alligator chased me off last week, so he has an excuse. Exactly. We did live in Florida, so that's absolutely. But he might come back and say, well, you know what? I've changed my mind. I think every other week is what we're going to work on. So it's not that the other person necessarily just accepts what's going on, but that's the first step in that fourth process as well. Communication from the heart. So this is from the heart, is a sacred exchange. This was an exchange between me and that roommate itself. It's not about getting our way. It's about creating connection. It's about me connecting with that roommate. It's about the understanding. It's about moving forward with that understanding with that other person. It's about seeing the good in each other as well. It's about deepening our relationship with other people. True communication is a sacred exchange. In other words, God in me greets God in you. Doesn't that sound familiar? That is almost the definition of that term we use, that Sanskrit term we use, namaste. I'm going to say the divine in me greets the divine in you. Within unity, we could also replace that term, the divine, with the Christ, because the Christ is that all those attributes that add up to the divine within each and every one of us. But let's stick with the divine. The divine in me greets the divine. I can say that to my roommate. I can say that to each and every one of you as well. Namaste. That's the shortcut too. And it's not only just, it's a recognition. I'm recognizing the divine in you in this case here as well. Did anyone see the James Cameron movie Avatar? Anybody see Avatar? Do you remember the greeting that and I forget the name of the natives. What was the greeting they used when they met each other? It's kind of like a namaste. I see you. I see you was what they told each other. It was a recognition, and I'm going to take it a step further, a recognition of each other's divinity at that time. That divinity within each and every one of us. So how can we make this practical within our lives? I invite you to find on YouTube the Marshall Rosenberg videos. There's probably 1 million of them. They're good. Check them out. Check out the YouTube Nonviolent Communication, Marshall Rosenberg. Read his book if you've got the time. Get a copy of the one-page cheat sheet that I have. I've got it out there in the hallway somewhere. Write the 4 steps on the back of a business card. Those 4 things that we just went through. Practice with a friend. That's the best way of doing it. Get with a friend and make something up. So make something up, because that takes away it takes away the pressure of it. Make something up. Oh, when you said I was going to buy the coffee today at Starbucks, make something up so that you can practice that. Practice it 10 different times so that you're ready for the real situation when you have to put this in practice with your spouse, with your loved one. I don't think I'm giving away too much when I can say, Reverend Lisa and I used it yesterday. And I'm better for it. I'm not going to say what the topic was, because I didn't get her permission for that. My affirmation for today, I'm going to take this with me for the rest of the week. Today, I listen deeply. I speak from the heart. I communicate with love. Join me and let's say that out loud. Today, I listen deeply. I speak from the heart. I communicate with love. Thank you very much. Let's move into meditation. I invite you to wiggle around, find a comfortable spot. Find a place for your hands to rest. And breathe. Closing your eyes if that feels comfortable. Whoops. And noticing. Notice where your breath. Notice where your body is affected by your breath. In your chest, as your belly rises and falls. As you feel that cool air enter your nostrils, wherever it is, look and feel upon that one spot as we begin this meditation. This is moving into the now. This is quieting the monkey mind. This is slowing down that parade of thoughts that we naturally have. This is not bad. Those thoughts just keep coming. We acknowledge that. But when we do wander, we come back and notice the breath once again. focusing on my voice, I will be using the first person I statements that you can take as your own if you wish. As I am focused on the spiritual quality of good communication. I speak from the heart. I let go of the past and the hurts that I may have carried with me, I may have drug with me. I no longer worry about what will be happening. And I speak from the heart in this moment, in the now, using the present moment as I communicate with love. I communicate with love. I begin the process by listening, and I move forward with speaking. But I do this with love and from the heart. As we take a moment, as we take a minute to sit in silence. As we begin to come out of this silence, becoming aware of my voice once again, we remember and we take with us throughout this week the idea that we listen deeply, that we speak from the heart, and that we communicate with love. This is what will make my world, our world, a better place. We become aware of the room around us once again. We begin to open our eyes. Maybe let out a sigh with our breath. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Jim. Thank you, John Stringer. Whew, Om Holy Holy. Still feeling the resonance of that. So now is the time that we get to participate in that beautiful circulation of energy we call giving and receiving. Because it's your very presence and your energy that feeds this community and helps us to thrive and to grow. So I invite you, there's so many different ways of giving. You can see all of those listed on the slide, but I invite you at this moment to take that gift in your hand. If you're giving electronically, imagine you're holding that gift in your hand as we say our abundance blessing together. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. We are light, love, power, and presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.